I am Dan Malinaric, Vice President of Microchip Technologies, Colorado Springs Operations, and the Chair of the 2018 Chamber and EDC Board of Directors. In the past year, I've had the opportunity to work with an outstanding board, a very capable staff, and committed community leaders. I'm convinced that there's no better time than the present to live in Colorado Springs. We are motivated and connected by our love for this community. We are grateful for our past, grateful to live in such a beautiful place, excited about the robust growth and investment in our city, and optimistic about the future. It's my honor to introduce our keynote speaker and my favorite politician. John Suthers is a lifetime resident of Colorado and the 41st mayor of Colorado Springs. Mayor Suthers' vision, leadership, and ability to foster collaboration have greatly benefited our community. Since taking office in 2015, Mayor Suthers has championed Colorado Springs in numerous initiatives ranging from statewide transportation and local road improvements, job growth, a successful campaign to establish dedicated stormwater maintenance funding, banning Lewis Ranch annexation amendments that continue to spur that development. And the mayor's focus on economic development has been instrumental in bolstering our business community and developing an environment that businesses can thrive, whether it's new businesses coming to our community or local ones already existing that are expanding. He's been recognized for his leadership, both for his service as our mayor and for serving as Colorado's Attorney General for 10 years prior to taking office. Under his leadership, Colorado Springs has swiftly gained national attention for our strong economy, competitive affordability, superior quality of life, and high caliber workforce. It's my honor to welcome to the stage for his fourth State of the City address, the Honorable Mayor John Suthers.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to those present and those watching on Springs TV and on social media for your interest in the state of our city. As was indicated, this is my fourth State of the City address since my election in the spring of 2015. And I'm grateful to the Colorado Springs Chamber of Commerce and EDC, the Broadmoor, and today's event sponsors for assisting me to fulfill my responsibility to make an annual report to our citizens. I want to extend a special welcome to a couple of our guests today. First, to my colleague, Michael Hancock, the mayor of Denver, who has joined us for today's event. Thank you, Michael. Mayor Hancock and I are the yin and yang of mayoral politics in Colorado, and I greatly enjoy our relationship. I was just a few minutes ago, and those at the table can attest, I was trying to get him to hold the Democratic Mayors Conference at the Broadmoor. Whatever it takes. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. I also want to extend a very warm welcome to the State Treasurer of the state of Colorado, Walker Stapleton. Walker, where are you? Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, Walker. I can't imagine why you'd want to be in a room with so many people, a lot of them being Republicans. I just can't figure that out. Folks, we gather today on the 21st day of September in the year 2018. In the 147th year since General William J. Palmer founded the city of Colorado Springs. In the 100th year since Spencer Penrose opened the great hotel in which we meet today. In the 76th year since Fort Carson was established by Congress. In the 60th year since the United States Air Force Academy opened in Colorado Springs. In the 53rd year since the University of Colorado at Colorado Springs was established, and in the 40th year since the United States Olympic Committee moved its headquarters to Colorado Springs. I mention a few of these milestones in our city's history, not just because I'm a student of history, although I am, and I try to learn as much as I can about the history of Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak region, but I reflect on our city's history to make a point, to confront a sobering reality. What we call history, after all, is simply our description of our ancestors' present. Their contemporary achievements and failures have become our history. As the famous historian David McCullough points out, when writing history, it's of critical importance to convey the reality that things need not have happened as they did. The triumph of the American Revolution was not a given. The victory of the Allies in World War II was not certain, and William Palmer could not be certain the colony he created in 1871 would grow and prosper and become a great city. Frankly, the odds weren't very good. There are 73 incorporated cities in Colorado today, but there are over 1,500 ghost towns. The fact Palmer invested so much of his own money in Colorado Springs certainly improved the odds. But the life of our ancestors in Colorado Springs was no more certain than ours. They knew no better how things would turn out than we do. But they confronted issues, made decisions, and took actions, both good and bad, which have become our history. And ladies and gentlemen, the issues, decisions, actions, and opportunities for leadership that I discussed today will become part of the history of Colorado Springs for those generations that follow us. So while we should never take ourselves too seriously, we must take our responsibilities to future generations very seriously. Now, as to the state of our city today, we need not consider only subjective self-assessments. We can consider the assessment of a leading national news organization that applied objective metrics to compare the most dynamic and economically prosperous cities in America. In doing so, U.S. News will Report rated Colorado Springs the second best place in America to live and the #1 most desirable city in America. We rated the highest of any city in quality of life, but also ranked very high in affordability, job opportunities, and other economic criteria. Our healthcare and educational institutions also rate high. The fact is, as a result of the unprecedented levels of public and private investment, Colorado Springs has taken its place among the great cities of America. A big contributing factor in achieving our current national status is the manner in which we have confronted, in 3 short years, a very large public infrastructure deficit. 3 years ago, 60% of our city's roads were in poor condition, and our stormwater system was so deficient that we were facing multiple lawsuits, including one that would prevent us from turning on the Southern delivery system when it was completed in April of 2016. In November of 2015, voters in Colorado Springs passed Issue 2C, agreeing to invest in our roads, $250 million over 5 years, and the result has been dramatic. When the third season of paving is complete next month, we will have paved 700 miles of road and improved 467,000 linear feet of curb and gutter, including 3,226 pedestrian ramps in compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. In November of 2016 and November of 2017, our voters passed Issue 2 and Issue 2A, agreeing to invest in our stormwater program, including reinstating a stormwater fee, which will allow us over the next 20 years not only to meet our legal obligations, but to create the best stormwater program in Colorado. Further, general fund dollars freed up by the passage of the stormwater fee will allow us to hire 120 police officers and 32 firefighters over the next 4 years. The additional sworn personnel are essential to reducing critical response times and making our public safety capabilities among the best in the country. Another major factor in Colorado Springs' success has been the job creation that's been achieved in the past 4 years. After years of stagnant job and wage growth, the Pikes Peak region has emerged as one of the best economies in the country. Profit and nonprofit organizations are moving here and expanding here. We've created more than 24,000 jobs since June of 2015, an average of 7,300 jobs per year. And the wages have climbed significantly during that same time. And we're talking about very good jobs. The median salary for posted jobs in our region is currently over $77,000. Far above the median salary for the state of Colorado. Registered nurses, software engineers, systems engineers, and cybersecurity personnel are among the most needed positions. The real estate market also remains among the best in the country. Demand is high, new construction is at record levels, and homes are appreciating at a healthy rate. Yet we remain among the most affordable of the most desirable places to live in America. In April of this year, the City Council ensured that we will continue to offer affordable housing options and a high quality of life to city residents by approving an amended annexation agreement for Banning Lewis Ranch, ensuring that our city has the necessary room to grow. The health of our commercial market is also evident by the new construction downtown and throughout the city. New residential units and business growth are increasing the vitality of our downtown core, and there are more exciting things to come. Next year, the United States Olympic Museum and Hall of Fame will open, cementing our brand as Olympic City, USA. And as we announced in July, we are moving forward with a downtown stadium and sports center. The stadium, which will be part of a residential and commercial development 2 blocks from the Olympic Museum, will be built by the Colorado Springs Switchbacks and Widener Apartment Homes. The indoor sports center, which will be home to Colorado College hockey and be accessed by various Olympic and Paralympic organizations, will be built on the Colorado College campus. Our sports ecosystem in Colorado Springs which now generates close to $500 million of economic activity annually, is now an essential part of our city's persona. Our city's higher education institutions are not only effectively carrying out their educational mission for over 40,000 students, but they have become huge economic drivers as well. The annual economic impact of Colorado College is approaching $175 million. For Pikes Peak Community College, it's almost $400 million. UCCS is approaching $600 million in annual economic impact, and the United States Air Force Academy is $1 billion. That's a total annual economic impact of almost $2.2 billion. Our airport is continuing its resurgence. After bottoming out at 600,000 employments in 2015, we have seen increasing traffic ever since and expect a total of 900,000 employments in 2018. And our tourism industry continues at record-breaking levels. Our local tourist venues are seeing record attendance, and the Gazette reported earlier this year that no less than 22 hotels or motels were under construction or in the planning stage in El Paso County. And despite new hotels and motels coming online, our occupancy rates continue to increase. As indicated earlier, our success in Colorado Springs is due to our unprecedented level of public and private investment. Our citizens deserve great credit. And yes, let's give our citizens a hand. And so does our city's legislative body, the City Council. When I was elected mayor in 2015, both the council and I expressed a heartfelt desire to work together and move our city forward. And ladies and gentlemen, we have done so. We have confronted important issues and challenges in our city in ways that other governments at other levels and other places have not. Since June of 2015, our City Council has eliminated the business personal property tax and improved the business climate in our city, referred important infrastructure measures to the ballot, approved an intergovernmental agreement with Pueblo essential to our city's future, approved an amended annexation agreement for Banning Lewis Ranch, also essential to our future, provided increased funding for police and fire staffing, returned transit funding to levels committed to years ago, facilitated affordable housing projects in our community, and made major landlords more accountable for the condition of their properties. The council has also been very engaged in the difficult task of balancing public sentiment, the law, and compassion in dealing with the problems of chronic homelessness in our community. So I want to take this opportunity to publicly express my great appreciation to the council for the tremendous work they've done over the last 3.5 years. My thanks to Council President Richard Scorman, President Pro Tem Jill Gabler, and Council members Merv Bennett, Andy Pico, Don Knight, Tom Strand, Yolanda Avila, David Geislinger, and Bill Murray. Would the council members who are present please stand up again so we can all recognize your public service. Okay, there's something intriguing going on. There's 2 over here and all the rest of them over here. I think we need to start some rumors. As many of you know, Councilmember Merv Bennett is term limited and will be leaving council in April. And I'd like to express special thanks to him for his dedication to our city during his 2 terms on council, including 2 years as council president. Merv, stand and take another bow. And while we're congratulating good public servants, let me also recognize the great work being done by city department heads and their dedicated staffs. I know we're joined today by our police chief, our fire chief, my chief of staff, Jeff Green, and several department heads. I'd ask all city employees here today to stand and be recognized for your great service as well. And we have dedicated city utilities employees here as well. I want to take a moment to introduce and congratulate the new CEO of Colorado Springs Utilities, Aaron Benjamin. Aaron, where are you? And I also want to thank interim CEO Eric Tharp for his leadership over the last several months. Eric. But ladies and gentlemen, there is one outstanding public servant in Colorado Springs that cannot be with us today. Colorado Springs police officer Jim Duzell was shot in the head when he responded to a call in the early morning hours of August 2nd. For weeks, his life hung in the balance. Today, he's recovering at Craig Rehabilitation Hospital. Folks, there are lots of cameras in this room here today, so let's have those cameras document this audience expression of appreciation for Officer Duzell and the sacrifice he's made for our city. Let's stand and let Officer Duzell know how we feel. Thank you all so much. I know Officer Duzell and his family appreciate your support. Governor John Hickenlooper will be leaving office in January, and I want to express my personal thanks to him for the close working relationship he and I have enjoyed over the years. Governor Hickenlooper has been mindful of Colorado Springs' interests, and among other things was instrumental in having the National Cybersecurity Center locate in Colorado Springs and ensuring it had funding to get off the ground. And term-limited State Senator Kent Lambert also deserves great kudos for his unwavering support of the NCC. While so much of our news in Colorado Springs has been positive, we continue to address ongoing challenges. Those of you who have heard my State of the City speeches over the last 2 years know that I've been critical of our state government for failing to move forward on important issues, such as the expansion of I-25 from Monument to Castle Rock and much-needed public pension reform. So it's very appropriate today that I commend the Governor, the General Assembly, and the Colorado Department of Transportation for finding a way to make the I-25 expansion happen much sooner than initially projected. In fact, we broke ground on the project 3 weeks ago, and thanks are also due to our El Paso County Commissioners and our local voters for their help in making it happen. The governor and legislature also made considerable progress this year on pension reform. My hope is that they'll closely monitor the impact of this year's changes and take whatever future steps are necessary to protect the fiscal integrity of the pension funds and the interests of Colorado taxpayers. Speaking of the interests of Colorado taxpayers, I feel compelled to comment on two issues on the November ballot designed to address state highway funding. One is Proposition 110, which would raise the state sales tax 0.62%. However, only 45% of the revenue would go to state highways. 15% would go to multimodal transportation, and 40% would be split between cities and counties. We estimate Colorado Springs would receive around $18 to $20 million a year for local roads from this proposal. Here's the problem for Colorado Springs. As I indicated earlier, in November of 2015, our voters approved Issue 2C, which raised our city sales tax 0.62 to generate at least $50 million per year for our local roads for 5 years. In 2018, it will generate about $52 million for our local roads. In passing Issue 2C, we increased the total sales tax 0.62 from 7.63% to 8.25%. If Proposition 110 passes, it would raise the total sales tax to 8.87%, which in my opinion is too high. If that happens, the council and I probably wouldn't seek to renew 2C for another 5 years in 2020, in which case Colorado Springs would be giving up over $50 million per year in local road construction for about $18 to $20 million. That's not a good deal. And there's another ballot issue, Proposition 109, otherwise known as Fix Our Damn Roads, which would direct the legislature to use existing state revenue to bond $3.5 billion in state highway construction without raising taxes. So for the residents of Colorado Springs at least, I'd suggest that Proposition 109, the Fix Our Damn Roads proposal, is a better deal. You get $3.5 billion in state highway investment without a tax increase, and you get to retain a much higher level of investment in local roads. Our booming local economy, with rising rents and housing costs, has made the always pressing issue of affordable housing even more pressing. The council and I will use all the tools in our toolbox to facilitate the expansion of affordable housing in Colorado Springs. That means utilizing state and local resources, including low-income housing tax credits, private activity bonds, the El Paso County Housing Trust Fund, and the city's federal grants from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The many housing units managed by the Colorado Springs Housing Authority need to be updated and expanded. We need to facilitate development of affordable units by nonprofits like Grescio, Partners in Housing, and Rocky Mountain Community Land Trust. And we need to ensure local developers are aware of various incentives available to construct affordable housing in our community. I'm pleased to report that 485 affordable units have recently been completed or soon will be. That includes 240 units at Copper Ridge, 180 at Traditions at Colorado Springs, and 65 permanent supportive housing units at Greenway Flats on the Rescue Mission campus. In addition, more than 400 existing households also received assistance with down payments and essential repairs. While this is admirable, we need to step up the pace. I would suggest we make it a community goal to build, preserve, and create opportunities to purchase an average of 1,000 affordable units per year over the next 5 years. We also need to continue to work hard to appropriately address the closely related issue of homelessness in our community. That means ensuring that service providers are available to meet shelter needs and address mental health and substance abuse problems, and also trying to minimize the adverse impact of homelessness on the health, safety, and welfare of all our citizens. It's a difficult balancing act, and I want to thank all the individuals and organizations that are working so hard to address the difficult issues involved. The Springs Rescue Mission, Salvation Army, Catholic Charities, Pikes Peak United Way, Urban Peak, Peak Vista, Community Health Partnerships, and all the Continuum of Care members. These agencies are working together to provide complementary but not duplicative services. And our local churches are providing thousands of volunteer hours and thousands of dollars to the effort through the COS I Love You initiative. I appreciate the City Council passing a ban on camping within 100 feet of our waterways. That was a necessary public health initiative. Our immediate goals are to assist the Springs Rescue Mission and Salvation Army to add more than 300 low-barrier beds to the 300 already existing. We believe that will allow us to aggressively enforce no camping bans. Further, our municipal court will create a homeless court program to divert those cited for various offenses to the mental health, drug treatment, and shelter programs they need. Our local service providers will supply the navigators who will assist homeless court participants to get these services. Our booming tourism industry suffered a bit of a setback when the historic Pikes Peak Cog Railway closed due to aging infrastructure. My hat's off to the Broadmoor for their willingness to invest tens of millions of dollars to rebuild the cog, and my heartfelt appreciation to Mayor Ken Giray and the Manitou City Council for working with the Broadmoor to make it happen. I am very disappointed that a small group of Manitou residents are jeopardizing the future of this iconic attraction, so vital to tourism in our region. And speaking of aging infrastructure, in June we broke ground on a much-needed and long overdue summit house on the top of Pikes Peak. Completion is scheduled in the fall of 2020, hopefully to coincide with a reopening of the Cog Railway. The challenge is we need to raise up to $15 million of the total cost of almost $60 million from private sources. I'm pleased to say we've already raised $7 million privately, but we still need broad public support. And just think, if everyone here today made a donation at givetopikespeak.org, we'd be off to a great start. Ladies and gentlemen, there is so much going on in our city that it would take a speech of insufferable length, even more insufferable than what you've just heard, to adequately summarize it all. So I've given you the Cliff Notes version, but suffice it to say, the state of our city is dynamic, and each and every day we are witness to the people, places, and events that will shape our city's history for future generations. Our present will be their history. My wife Janet and I consider it a great honor and privilege to be so involved in our city at such an exciting time. The fact we both literally grew up with Colorado Springs adds to the meaning and purpose we derive from the task. It's Janet's love and support that helps me suffer the slings and arrows of public office and gives me the stamina and perseverance to stay laser focused on the job of moving our city forward. Thank you, Janet, for all you do for me and for Olympic City, USA. In 147 years, General Palmer's colony has grown to become a big city. Little London has grown to be among the best cities in America to live, work, and play. And it's a tribute to our predecessors that even after 147 years and a population of almost 500,000 people, Colorado Springs is the most desirable city in America to live. Our job is to ensure it remains so far into the future. As I say repeatedly, our challenge today as citizens of this great city remains the same that General Palmer embraced. We must continue the task of building a city that matches our scenery, a shining city at the foot of a great mountain. Let us also embrace the challenge, and let us all resolve to become the good ancestors that future generations of Colorado Springs residents need us to be, because we are writing their history. Thank you, and may God continue to bless the city of Colorado Springs. Thank you all very much. It's now time for what I consider to be a highlight of this annual event: the presentation of the Spirit of the Springs Lifetime Achievement Award. Previous winners of this award include Nancy Lewis, Harry Hoth, George Fellows, and last year's winner, Mary Ellen McNally, who I believe is present with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would need a lot more time than we have to list all the achievements of this year's very worthy recipient, Mr. Chuck Murphy. Chuck and his company, Murphy Constructors, have renovated and restored some of the most historic buildings in our city, including the Colorado Springs Pioneers Museum. He's had a hand in restoring the places that keep our history alive. Chuck loves local history, and his passion for our past is matched only by his contributions that are helping to shape our promising future. He has served on the Colorado Economic Development Commission and has contributed to the City for Champions project on many levels. He's provided his time and insight to the city's Planning Commission, the Pikes Peak Highway Advisory Board, the Downtown Partnership, and the Historic Preservation Alliance. He serves on countless charitable boards, some of them focused on preserving the gems of our city, while others support the arts in the Pikes Peak region, and many others care for our city's most needy and vulnerable. His compassion for others is evidenced by so many of the organizations he chooses to champion. It's my pleasure to wish Chuck a happy birthday as he turned 83 yesterday. It was pretty clear I don't think Chuck has plans to slow down very much. I invite all of you to watch and listen as just a few of his friends and family describe how his impressive resume is just part of the reason he deserves this recognition today.
What does it mean to build a legacy? For Chuck Murphy, it has happened in Colorado Springs one project at a time and one relationship at a time.
I first met Chuck Murphy Close to 30 years ago, we were trying to turn the old Cheyenne Hotel at the corner of Pikes Peak and Cascade into what eventually would be the Phantom Canyon Brewing Company. Chuck was the general contractor who helped me estimate all the costs, and we got down to about, it was $40,000 we were still fighting over. And Chuck looked at me and says, you seem like an awful good guy. Why don't we just split it and go have a beer? And we did, and we've been best friends ever since. If it wasn't for Chuck Murphy, we wouldn't have ever gotten Phantom Canyon done. And if Phantom Canyon had failed, I don't think John Hickenlooper would have ever gotten done. So the next time somebody in Colorado Springs is dissatisfied with Governor Hickenlooper's conduct in any way, blame Chuck Murphy.
I would call Chuck almost like a second father to Stephanie. So when I first met him, I'd heard a lot of stories about him, larger than life. And so when you meet him, those are all true, but he's just such a down-to-earth, caring, wonderful kind of father, husband, community patron.
He knows how to live life. And I would say that if we could all live like Chuck, the world would be a great place.
Murphy was born and raised in Colorado Springs, and his friends and family all point to his passion for local history.
He loves Colorado Springs, always has, being a native, and he's just taken a lot of interest in all parts. He did a lot of work in Manitou, done tremendous work in Colorado Springs.
The Cliff House was, as a kid growing up in Manitou, it was just in such dire need of investment. And Chuck took that on as a labor of love and turned it into something that is just another piece of our tourism industry's infrastructure, and a wonderful restoration from a historic perspective, but also made it viable for the future.
One of my great memories was he arrived at my house for a dinner party, and he had under his arm rolled up this sort of long, skinny roll. And he handed it to me, and he said, "You'll want to open it." And I said, "Okay." And so I undid it's a scroll kind of thing, and I undid it and pulled it out. And it was an original City Council resolution accepting the Garden of the Gods Park. When you walk in the Garden of the Gods Visitor and Nature Center on the first floor, the first thing you will see is the acceptance from the city of the Garden of the Gods Park. And this is framed beautifully there, and that's about as much of Colorado Springs history as you could hope to have arrive at dinner.
Documenting our local beauty is another way Murphy has built his legacy.
His mother bought him a camera when he was a kid. I think he said he was 14. His mother was German, and took him to Germany and bought him his first camera. And he said, "I've loved it ever since."
I think Chuck really showed me there's these fundamental pillars that arts and culture is one of, and the quality of that does define the quality of our community.
Photographer, historian, businessman, philanthropist, mentor, family man, friend.
83, and he's still working 6 days a week.
The things he's done for the community, oh my gosh, that will be legendary. That's legacy, no doubt, and I love him for that. But what I love most about him is his exuberance for life.
Chuck is about relationships and people, and he loves them deeply, and he's shown me that.
Now one more title to add, Lifetime Achievement Award recipient.
And if you look at all the great things that have happened in Colorado Springs over the last 25 or 30 years, his fingerprints are all over them.
He shares the journey of every single one of our lives in a way that no one else in this community does.
Congratulations to Chuck Murphy for building a legacy of devotion to a grateful city.
Turn over to the second. I want to welcome and recognize all of Chuck's family, friends, and fans who are here today. Of the 850 of you, I think about 835 are related to Chuck. It's my pleasure to invite my fellow alumnus of St. Mary's High School, Chuck Murphy, to say a few remarks in accepting this award. Congratulations, Chuck. Thank you.
My bladder is attached to my eyes. So it's not easy for me in situations like this to tear up easily. First of all, we are so fortunate to live here. And we are so fortunate to have this marvelous mayor and his wife that dedicate their life to this city. I've been around a long time, and so I'm a pretty good judge of mayors. But anyway, I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for Mary Lou. She has the... I met her when I was at Regis, and she was in nurses training, and boy, I tell you, it's the best thing that ever happened to me, you know. And we got married December 29th. We'll be married 62 years this December. One time she was so aggravated, she went to 3 different lawyers, none of them would take the quick case, you know. She never mentioned it again. We had 5 kids in 7 years. That's called Vatican roulette. I'm honored to have my sister Sheila here and her husband Patrick, and I'm also honored to have all of our kids here, it's a really great event for all of us. My brother John was born on the same day as I am, 10 years apart, and we've become very, very close all these many years together. John's a retired attorney and a great friend to us all, and he's been fighting a horrible disease called cancer, and he's succeeded. Where so many others unfortunately failed. I'm just honored and appreciate all of you being here, and I think that we're in for a great run in Colorado Springs, and I couldn't be prouder. And I want to thank all of you for being here today, and I want to thank all the city employees that work so hard at making these things work, making the city work, and they really do. We're fortunate to have them, and thanks for being here.
Who wants to go back to work now? Chuck, thank you for your service to the community. Congratulations to you. Mary Lou, bless you. You get an extra star in your crown. Thank you both for all that you have done through the years for the city of Colorado Springs. Mayor Suthers, I remember three items on which your first term as mayor was based. One was collaboration, stronger collaboration with city council. One was job creation, and the third was rebuilding our infrastructure, and you've done it. Congratulations, and thank you for that. Darn right. And I would assert that the last two happened because of the first, because of the spirit of collaboration and working together that you've brought to the office, that you've brought to the community, your relationships with City Council, with our county commissioners, and with across the community. I can attest to that for our organization as well at the Chamber and EDC. So I'd say to you and your administration, and to City Council in particular, thank you very much for the way you've led and for the progress that you've helped achieve for the community. Pardon me just a moment. I want to close by thanking our sponsors. And then one more thank you, and we're headed out into the sunshine. Thank you, T. Rowe Price, UC Health, AMR, the El Palmar Foundation, Pikes Peak Community Foundation, AT&T, Children's Hospital Colorado, the Employers Council, the Gazette, and special thanks to JNS Audio Visual. And Jack Demoli and your crew here at the Broadmoor, thank you for welcoming us and taking great care of us again today. What a place. If you enjoyed the State of the City today, two more things I'll bring to your attention. October 5th, join Andy Vick, Mayor Suthers, and me at the Business and Arts Luncheon, which we co-host with the Cultural Office of the Pikes Peak region. And on Saturday, November 3rd, we'll be back here for our annual gala, at which we'll recognize business leaders in the community. You can find information on these and others at our website. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Community leaders, thank you for your service. We're adjourned.